Audio Damage have been making VST effects and instruments for quite a while, and recently they made several of their older plugins legacy plugins, which means they are now free VSTs that you can download and use in your projects. Now there's some really great effects and instruments in here, but not all of them are available in 64-bit. Some are just 32-bit only, and there's not really any information on the website which is which. There's just a list of the plugins that you can download, which is fine, but I went through all of them and picked out the 64-bit ones, and I dug up some information to share with you. So in this video, we're going to look at all of the 64-bit plugins that you can download for free from Audio Damage. And another thing to note is these are as-is plugins. There's no support for them. There's no updates for them. They may not work on the latest Mac operating system. If they can work for you, that's great. If not, then you're missing out on these free Audio Damage plugins. Now, let's look at the first one, which is 914. Now, this is a fixed filter bank plugin that's based on the Moog 914 module. It has 12 bandpass filters plus low pass and high pass filters, and this can add some extra texture and richness to your tracks. And another thing to note about these plugins is that some of them do require a registration code, and if they do, that's included in the zip file that you got the plugin from, so be sure to look for that. Next up is Adverb. Now this is a vintage digital plate style reverb with pretty straightforward controls, and they say that this one is optimized for low CPU usage. The next free plugin from Audio Damage is Automaton. And this one is a buffer effect. It's kind of like a glitch effect, but with some really cool automation and more. Use this to create tons of interest and transform whatever track you put it on into something new. The next one is Axon. Now this one is a FM instrument plugin that triggers percussion-tuned FM voices. It has some decent presets in there to help you get started with it, and it has a really nice, unique sound to it. Now another instrument plugin is the Basic Synth. And this is a straightforward 3-oscillator subtractive mono synth. It comes with a nice selection of presets, and it doesn't appear to be based on any vintage synthesizer, but it does give off that vintage sound. The next free Audio Damage plugin is called Big Seek 2. And this is a multi-effect unit with an interesting sequencer aspect to it. It has distortion, filter, delay, and more. Now here's Bitcom. This is a modern lo-fi effect. It's a bit crusher that's driven by a step sequencer, and it can really mangle your tracks into something new and interesting. The next one is called Discord 3. And this is based on a classic pitch shifter unit. It can likely find a few different uses in your projects as a doubling effect, or just get creative with it. Up next is Dr. Device. And this effect starts as a filter and then ends with a stereo analog delay. Plus you can control things with the XYZ controls in the center, and it has a pretty nice looking user interface as well. This next one is Dubstation 2. They describe this one as a delay plugin that's modeled on the Bucket Brigade style of vintage delay units. It has some cool features in there like loop and reverse, and if you use this one with some automation, you could create some really cool sounds with it. Next up is Filterstation. And this is a stereo dual filter plugin with 12 filter algorithms. It has quite a few excellent sounding presets that are going to help you get started with it. Now this one is called Fluid, and it's an analog modeled true stereo chorus effect. It's pretty straightforward and sounds great. Now let's look at Fuzz Plus 3. This is based on a vintage distortion pedal, and it has a clean user interface with a few presets, and just because this is a guitar pedal doesn't mean it only belongs on guitar. Try it out on other instruments too. Up next is Kombinat. This is a distortion plugin that features 3 distortion engines with 13 different options for each of them. It comes with 80 presets to help you get started. The next one is called Liquid. This one is an analog style flanger plugin, and it models the classic 2-tape machine technique to create artificial double tracking. Next on the list is Mangleverb. And this isn't your typical reverb plugin. Mangleverb can be used as a filter, reverb, transient shaper, and rhythmic gate. Up next is Panstation. This is an auto panner plugin that's loosely modeled after the Drummer 500 with the added features of the pan scan. It has 10 panning waveforms, 4 different panning laws, several ways to take control of the pan, and more. The next one is PhaseTwo. This is a digital modeling of the Mutron biphase vintage phaser unit. It features 2 separately controllable 6-stage phasers that can be routed in series or parallel. Next up is Phosphor Synth. This is an additive synthesizer that's modeled after the vintage Alpha Centauri synth from the 80s. It features 2 oscillators, and it can be run in a lo-fi mode that's closer to the original synth, or in a more modern mode with alias-free signs. The next one is called Ratshack Reverb 2. This is a detailed model of the classic realistic electronic reverb, which was sold at Radio Shack stores, and it wasn't really a reverb, it was more of an analog bucket brigade delay. And seriously, I like the sound of this thing. I owned a different realistic unit, and this user interface is spot on. I think all of the realistic stuff looked kind of the same. Up next is Replicant, and this is a delay-based effect that's like a beat slicer and looper. It features tempo-based delay and loop effects, 6 independent randomization effects, and more. This next one is called Ricochet, and this is another delay effect, this time a multi-tap delay with 5 independently controlled taps, multi-mode filter, panning, level, sync, mute, solo, and time. Next up is Ronin. And this one is a multi-effects plugin featuring 2 delays, 2 multi-mode filters, 2 tube saturation stages, and 2 LFOs with Bucket Brigade modeled delays. Ronin is capable of tape-style delays, true analog chorus effects, and flanging effects. Next up, we have a compressor plugin in Rough Rider Pro. Not to be mistaken for their free Rough Rider plugin, this Pro version is a more sophisticated multi-band compressor, featuring 3 bands of compression with full control over each band. Rough Rider Pro is designed for more extreme compressions, with ratios up to 1001 and extremely short attack time for distortion effects and multiple routings. Up next is their Tattoo plugin. This was their first instrument. It's a drum synthesizer that features 12 drum synths, a sophisticated step sequencer, lots of randomization, and much more. Now we have Audio Damage's Vapor. This is a diffusion chorus that's like a cross between a chorus and reverb. Vapor can either add shine to your tracks to add more presence, or it can smear them to help tracks sit back in the mix. Now check out 10 of the best free DAWs that you can use all of these free VSTs in by clicking the video on the screen. And if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating, and we'll talk soon.